Mr. Aadland, key Republicans in the House are talking about using next year's debt ceiling fight as an opportunity to make cuts to Social Security and to Medicare. So two-part question. Do you support cuts to Social Security and Medicare benefits? And should the United States risk defaulting on its debt at a time when the economy is in such shaky condition?
Well, the debt ceiling needs to remain so that we force government to operate within the cash flow. Otherwise, inflation will continue to grow out of control, and it's going to hurt the American people and Coloradans. As I mentioned, that 16% inflation rate. Now, I want Social Security and Medicare and Medicaid well funded, but I want those programs to operate efficiently, and right now they're inefficient. So we need to look at revitalizing those programs, making sure that there's comprehensive reform so the quality does not get compromised and people who are dependent upon those services are not hurt by those efficiencies. But it takes government actually taking a look and reducing the bureaucracy so that those provide the essential services required.
I understand your thought process on this, but I didn't hear an answer to either of the questions. Do you support cuts to Social Security and Medicare?
No, I don't.
You do not, okay. And should the U.S. risk defaulting on its debt at a time when the economy is in this kind of shape? It's going to be the choice of Republicans because we know the Democrats will vote to increase the debt ceiling.
Well, that's right. And that's where it comes for Congress to actually operate within its purview of the power of the purse, to not raise the debt ceiling, but to make the hard decisions of not just endlessly printing money to supplement a deficit that increases to grow, and that's a direct result of government spending. Congress we have to make cuts somewhere, and we've got to find where to do that.
Question to you on the same topic, so anything you want to say on this topic, you can work into your answer if you'd like. There's pressure on Democrats to raise the debt ceiling in more of a permanent way, like make it so high that this doesn't become a recurring fight that puts the economy in danger. Do you think that we should do that? Would that be a smart thing for Democrats to do before one of you gets to Congress or in future years when Democrats have control? What do you think about that idea?
We remember a time years ago where this was not put on the negotiating table to potentially not fund our federal government. This has been used as a political ploy, so I think that taking it off the table, I understand what their incentives are for doing so. This actually has an effect on the economy. As you can remember, during Trump, he actually stopped paying our federal employees for months. So I think that some of those irresponsible behaviors have been unfortunately they've taken advantage of this. In Colorado, we actually balance our budget. I understand the need to go in debt for some critical investments, but we do need to evaluate some of the spending and oversight in strategic investments. But just to say really quick,
please.
My opponent has said that he supports McCarthy's plan that would gut Social Security and Medicare. And so I just want to set the record straight there. We also don't have the leading inflation in the United States. We're actually, behind most states in our inflation rate here in Colorado. But this is a global issue. This is something that does affect all of us because of the economic fallout from the pandemic.
So I just want to make sure that we get a clear answer to the question, which is, do you support this idea that Democrats are floating around of moving the debt ceiling so high that it doesn't become a bargaining chip?
I think that this should be off the table. We need to be strategic and responsible with our budget. But the way that this has been politicized is very irresponsible. So yes.
On that inflation number, we talked about this in one of our previous debates, and we're sometimes talking about two different numbers. Right now, the Denver metro area's inflation is at 7% and change, which is actually under the 12-month inflation for the nation as a whole. But Republicans often cite this other number that's 16% if you cherry pick various sectors and look back more than 12 months, not how inflation is commonly measured. So I want people to know what facts and figures you're talking about there. She made a comment about you supporting McCarthy's plan that would result in cuts to Social Security and Medicare. You'd vote against the potential House Speaker's plan?
Well, I've talked to Leader McCarthy at length. That's not part of the commitment to America. There is no effort to reduce funding for Social Security, Medicare, or Medicaid. We've talked about this, and it's outlined clearly in the commitment to America. I think voters should check this out. This is a plan to get America back on track. It starts with a strong economy, and first and foremost is addressing inflation, because that is the most significant impact on affordability here in Colorado and nationwide.